Righty. Okay. Where to begin? Welcome everyone this evening. Hope everyone is doing all right. You may have noticed that the chat has limitations to it. I'm trying out one of the features, so hopefully we shouldn't have any invaders from the third kind waltzing in on what's going on. And this is as a response to the previous stream, which was removed, titled something about envy, the toxicity of envy, with my guest Iridium Kush. That was disrupted. So that is what this stream is going to be about. It might not seem like it, but it has its roots if we trace back. So if there wasn't a disruption and people respected my guest and the conversation and the channel and the audience as well, then we wouldn't be doing what we're going to be doing tonight. It's not particularly something I want to have to discuss. Bear with me just a moment. I need to, for some reason, where's my document gone? I swear I opened it. I saw it with my own eyes, but it's not there. Where is it? So shout outs to people, D-Man, Silver Bullet, Freebird, Mr. Hemi, and Shinobi One, and whoever else is here. This is something a little confusing. Don't take this personally, guys, but pretty much all of you shouldn't really be able to comment because of the filtering I'm trying to experiment with. So somehow you managed to slip the net. I don't know if it's because you all have wrenches. Maybe that's why. Right, so I would like to apologize again for the last stream to my guest and to my audience, and for having the stream taken down. Waste of time, waste of effort. Whether or not we'll return to the subject, I don't know. And I also want to apologize because, it was due mostly to, well, there's a part of it which is my responsibilities as the owner of this channel to moderate and monitor the chats, and I'm terrible at it. You'll probably already know this. It's hard for me to read comments while nattering away. Now there are wrenches that could help. I could anoint a master wrench or someone. I could decide just to disable the chat altogether, which was I was very close to wanting to do. So either way, the lack of attentiveness to regulating the chat box lands on me. So I fucked up there. So I apologize for not being as efficient with monitoring the comments, because had I been, then we wouldn't have had the disruption. So if you are writing a comment and it's not appearing, maybe you might be wondering why my comment isn't appearing. It's because I'm playing around with this feature thing. You can still leave comment in the main comment section, or if you want to message me on Discord or something like that, do it that way. Now, this conversation this evening, sorry, I'm glossing over 6 pages to go through. Really, this is a goat horn production video, but it's obviously too long to make it into a fancy presentation. But the goat horns are out tonight. And there's been, as everyone is probably already aware, 6 months or however long of craziness going on. Many people involved, dragged in, fuckery, far-reaching, the ripple effect, the consequences, the ramifications, the collateral damage, the domino effect, the butterfly effect, all this nonsense. And people are getting sick and tired of it. And they're at their wits' end. Don't know what to do. What's going to happen? Do they give up? Do they walk away? Do they scream at the wall or something like that? And for the vast majority of people, they feel like they got their hands tied. Now, this isn't good when it comes to, in terms of us, I'll try not to go off into a psychological studies, but in terms of your well-being, this being in kind of limbo, neither here nor there, cognitive dissonance and stuff like that, is excruciating and will tear your mind, your soul, your spirit apart. Because damned if you do and damned if you don't, and you become indecisive, you become stagnant, and you wither away and slowly decay and rot and die. So it's understandable that people are probably feeling exhausted, drained, and depleted, and all that kind of fun stuff. At the mercy of well, we'll get into of someone, hey. There are main two candidates, but the goalposts, finger pointing of blame, which really is a sign of please spare me, save me. I need you to take the blame. I need you to take my frustrations out on someone, because I don't know, because it's tearing you up inside, because otherwise you're going to be fighting with your own internal deliberating, can't make your mind up. Bandits here, good to see you, sir. Sorry, I'm waffling. Let's just get into it, because I think it was going to take a bit of time. So, as indicated, emotions are running high, much higher than you perhaps realize, because you're in the, you can't see the forest through the trees, so you don't realize how deep into the jungle you might be. Unfortunately, where I'm situated, I believe I've got a little bit of a perspective, and given my background as well, I've got a little bit more of a awareness and a perspective of what's going on. So emotions can cloud not just your judgments and block out your critical thinking, but they can cloud your memories and distort your perception. You become unreliable, no longer really dependable. You become unstable. There's a whole bunch of things. You should really already know this. However, denial, as in the title, you probably there's a good chance you underestimate how it's impacting yourself. And you might say, nah, not me. I got my head on straight and all this. But even if people around you are losing their shit, your proximity, your involvement, the brotherhood who wants to be connected, well, you are not immune. So because These emotions are running high. I figure, all right, back to basics. I figure I'll help remind people what's going on. Focus, some clarity. Because the arguments that are being brought forward are ludicrous. It gets to a point. It's like, when I remind you, when I crystallize this and bring it all back down to earth for you, you're going to be like, how the hell did we get to where we are now from this originating starting point? So many of you, with the frustrations and anger, resentments all boiling up and building up, and things like spilling out, leaking everywhere. And generally, I think it's fair to say most of you have probably seen red, and as a result, you can't think clearly. And this emotional way of thinking, trauma, you're in the process of being traumatized here, blocks out critical thinking, particularly the important bits of information which would make all the difference. So the kind of sentiment I'm hearing from a lot of people is that you seem to think Mr. Cush is just randomly going around deciding to roast people for no real reason, forgetting what started all of this, forgetting it was Brandon who set him off. You kind of overlook that. So if you omit that piece of evidence, then yes, it would appear as if Kush has just gone ballistic for no justifiable cause. But I think if you remember why, imagine if you were accused of being a pedophile, I think you would be pretty pissed off as well. And these additional, you might, third parties, additional people, bystanders, they might wonder, you might wonder, so why is he coming after me if it's to do with Brandon? And it's because, unfortunately, in some shape or form, most people have sided with Brandon in some capacity. So by minimizing this accusation of such a big, of such nature, of pedophilia, doesn't really get much worse than that, and you make it as if it's like a no biggie, because you minimize, you devalue it, you shrug, you unintentionally, without realizing, you put yourselves at greater risks, because one day it could be you being accused and then being told to just suck it up, as many of you have been telling Mr. Cush, to just roll over, accept it, let it go, kind of thing. Now, as a sort of example, to give you a bit of a comparison, you're familiar with terms like toxic masculinity, Me Too, Believe All Women, and there are many more. Well, these sort of notions, movements, or whatever you want to call them, they came from people turning a blind eye. And so those enablers allowed such things to propagate. So if you're not careful, you're going to be doing the same thing. Now, how many of you have spent time in jail, falsely accused, or know someone who has? You hear many stories. How many people are killed by swatting? How many of you would like to be on a register and told to accept it and stop your complaining, just be gone with you, and then hide from persecution for the rest of your life in terror, just because someone felt like it? Now, you don't like being called a simp or a cuck. And there's a new one I hear, Nisthouse. You know. So if you're upset about that, how would you like being called a pedophile? And people like to talk about morals. Where are they? Because I don't see morals being displayed. So this is why you're not critically thinking, and your emotions are running away with you, and it's causing everyone additional symptoms, compounding matters, and making it more difficult to address. So in retort, people will say, oh, but there's evidence. We saw evidence. And I'm thinking, of what exactly? Someone with a grudge against Kush? Because that's what I'm seeing. We're in a day of AI and deep fake. We have already seen that this so-called evidence can be manipulated, fabricated. So this evidence that's being put forward as a retort to me is evidence, yes, of that foul play is at hand, and likely from someone you call a brother, or perhaps maybe a bitch in the shadows. But it's someone in proximity, close. It's not going to be a complete random stranger off the street, is it? It's someone who has who is familiar with people here. And that to me is a little bit more alarming in some ways. That whoever this person is willing to go to lengths to frame someone, emotionally terrorize the entire community for their amusement, probably, because they felt like it. And none of you seem to care about any of that. So that's quite alarming to me. And this is what I mean. You're so fixated on burning the witch. Sorry, Kush, I don't mean to call you a witch, but you know, you're so fixated on burning this anointed witch that you decided that you forget it can easily be you next. That is why, even if you don't like Kush, in my estimation, you better be damn sure the accusation made against him is accurate. And should you ever be on the receiving end, you better hope you got the strength to defend yourself as much as he does. So, in many regards, I personally would commend Kush for not giving in and making a stand. Because should the shoe be on the other foot and you were in his predicament, I don't know if many of you would do as well as he has. Because obviously, the brothers don't have your back. Only very few have supported Kush. Or even if it wasn't Kush, just he just happened to be at the wrong place at the wrong time, whoever. The brotherhood, in quotes there, the so-called brotherhood, are the ones who have turned on their fellow man. And so when, for example, people want to attack me as a supporter Remember, you're also attacking this idea of due process. Because I want the guilty, I want them accountable just as much as any of you. And your stunts, these stunts that I'm seeing, ruin that from happening. And in a sense, you become no better than the alleged crimes made. And then another sort of justification for this batshit crazy behavior is trying to further blame Kush and saying, well, Kush is doing all this stuff, as if that's no excuse. It doesn't give you liberty to go all no holds bar, trying to triangulate and get other people. We've got to get the witch. No, this is not due process. This is hysteria. So think carefully before you decide to have any rebuttals, because things can backfire. And that is the evidence I am seeing. Nothing that actually supports the accusation. I have not seen any concrete proof, which, by the way, I had asked Brandon for directly, and he said he had it. He said he knows. He was sure of shores. He was certain. And evidence on its own usually isn't enough. Usually there is motive. And I have seen motive to incriminate Mr. Kush. And I don't see much motive for why he would actually do the things he's been accused of doing. So, from a somewhat outside perspective, or maybe an objective perspective, what I see is people reaching at straws and bolting things on, which to me further suggests that there isn't actually a solid case against Mr. Iridium Kush. And this isn't about favoritism or buddies or something like that, because I know him. I need some concrete proof. And he's aware that if there was, or if there is, that I would be very disappointed and I would be fuming at him. But with this filtering of this selective amnesia of forgetting the facts, thus creating what we would call a cognitive bias, and you could factor in some personal vendettas and grudges and fifis and whatnot. It just more and more shows me how unreliable the community's perspective is, and how much denial, linking it to the title of this stream, and also how emotionally invested you all are. So get off my back and forgive me for my skepticism. Really, if you were wanting your case or this accusation to be true, you would also want to be skeptical. So show me proof before expecting me to take sides with the prosecution. After all, one of the arguments for this accusation is to stand up to morality. That is what I'm doing here with due process. Doing what's right. And even if it was someone that you didn't like, you still, unfortunately, you have to be fair in that sense. You know, if you don't, there needs to be valid reasons, not made up shit. So, with my psychological hat put on, what do I see? And what do I see here is basically tribalism, primitive, regressed ways of thinking, survivalistic, unga bunga, which is like Burn the Witch, where beliefs, magical thinking take hold. And this is a danger which has far more reaching consequences. I mean, it's hard to believe what could be more dangerous or harmful than pedophilia, as is being suggested. But this is not to say that there isn't child abuse. But the child abuse that is actually going on is included under this umbrella of tribalism. It is the weaponizing of children to make false accusations. We don't even know if these children actually are real, like they are real people, or are they a figment of someone's imagination? Oh, because he said so. Oh, because I saw something. That's not good enough. You've mobilized an entire community, an army, pretty much, on a hunch, on hearsay, because I saw something. And this is where, even if, with Kush being selected as the boogeyman, is ejected, banished, the issues of the tribalism thing and the ease at which children are used as weapons would still remain. You haven't actually solved the problem. You will all still be walking on eggshells with distrust, hoping that you ain't going to be next. And in likelihood, you'll actually be looking for the next boogeyman, the next person to slap on an accusation. And the cycle will just keep going on and on. From what I hear, I stumbled on a channel recently. I think he's called The Angry Man or The Angry Guy. And he's talking about how these crazy feminists are running out of people to falsely accuse of whatever crimes. Too many men have walked away. So they're having to pick a new target. They're going to pick their clients or their customers if they walk into a shop. You see, when you've got the bloodlust in you, there will always be a boogeyman of sorts. So even if Kush is gone, what I'm saying is that it doesn't solve anything. But if you actually eject the true cause of your problems, instead of running away from them, if you actually address them and face them properly, then this future problem thing of repeating the cycle will go away, because boundaries will be set then that this kind of shenanigans is not acceptable. The cycle, the chain will be broken. Now, makes me wonder, who was it exactly who was going on about gatekeeping? Because that's what boundaries are. Who was talking about gatekeeping? Ah, there you go. Brandon is telling you who needs to be gatekept. And it isn't cush. You might say it's a bit of a confession or self-admission. And this could be as simple as gatekeeping, in the sense of maybe you should shut your fucking mouth before you say something stupid. Think before you speak. So this anointed boogeyman character doesn't have to be Kush, could be anyone really. But the function of this person essentially is serving as a sacrifice. Now, this is going to sound a little bit silly, but think tribalism. So, okay, use some tribal language here. A sacrifice to appease the gods, in hopes that the gods will grant or give a good harvest. Pray to the gods and pray the gods don't ask for your sons, because they could also be subject to false accusations. And this is why it's important to be damn sure your accusations are solid and founded and accurate, and you do your diligence and you take responsibility for them, instead of just blase, easy peasy, because one day it could be your son or your friend's, your neighbor's son. Who's going to defend them? Instead, the people that they turn to for help are the ones trying to stab them with a pitchfork. I thought this is about saving lives. You're trying to destroy lives. And who is this God figure that I'm talking about here? Well, have a guess. Who is it that you don't want to admit to? That you have to lie to yourselves because you're scared of what that would mean? You tell me by the way you conceal it with this denial. You're hoping that this false God, really, it's not a true God, obviously, but you're hoping that this false God will protect and validate you. So this means that what you're doing isn't really morally right. It is believing in false security, otherwise known as a false promise. Your emotional needs are being used against you even as we speak, to keep you loyal and in servitude to this false God. Now, how many talks have I given on codependency and shared fantasy? And part of this denial is in not wanting to admit that you're wrong, because it will explode your world. It's like holding on to the blue pill dream. You will hold on to it until your dying breath, until you're forced to let go. You can't sustain it, and only then do you actually take the red pill. It's that kind of level of terror, but you don't you minimize it. You try to shy away from it. But this is codependency. And for someone like me, the signs are all, it's the writing is on the wall, clear as day. Another example you might want to relate to is Stockholm syndrome. You are covering and protecting the person who is abusing you, and going after someone else as a sacrifice to satisfy the abuser, to fend off it happening to you. So now try again lying to me with this narrative, this reasoning you guys have constructed. And you'll probably find it's not as easy to do because you can no longer play dumb. Come on, be honest. You know this is all stupid. Even Brandon knows. I mean, do we have to go over it again? I'll put it to you like this. Tell me this doesn't sound stupid. We have the FBI called because Brandon saw a post. Next, you're going to be telling me the sun is local because you meditated on it. Where did I hear that from? Now, to be fair, let me help you build a better case against Mr. Cush. Insults like calling him Mrs. Doubtfire doesn't help your case. Making memes and trolling and laughing about jokingly doesn't help your case. What I see as an observer is basically like a petty cat fight. In which case, this is not actually a serious matter at all. By saying in one way or another the idea of like Kush, take the hint, we want you gone, just get out of the community, that also undermines your case. Because if this is supposed to be a serious matter of child rape, then treat it as such. What have you all been doing? Now, the alleged children, the victims of this crime, seem to have totally been forgotten about. Not once have I heard about their parents, if they're okay, or what's happened to them. So it is clear that this is more about your own personal distresses as a result of the defendant going scorched earth on you, and not really about saving children. Because if children really were that important, as you say they are, then it would not matter what kind of pressure you're being put under by the defendant. So stick to your story. What I have heard is how upset you guys are that the defendant is coming at you hard and how people are getting dragged in. That too doesn't help your case, as it shows the evidence hasn't got anything really to stand upon and needs additional people screaming to support it. Why are you all stressing out if your proof is solid? So the goalpost has been moved, clearly. The reason you want to get rid of Kush isn't because of child abuse. Rather, it is because he is roasting people due to being accused. That bit of fun fact that likes to be forgotten about. So this is now his crime. And many of you are wanting to play the victim whilst you're there holding pitchforks. If I were in your position, I would be listening to what Kush has said about this fake account thing, what his information is, what he knows, and I would be spending my time investigating it instead of spending my time searching for ways to attack him. Because the more bolt-on attacks you want to put on Kush, the more you expose this child rape accusation as being insignificant, when really it should be the only thing that matters. And as I said earlier, because if this fake account malarkey is true, you're all part of a whole different game altogether. At least with a child pedophile accusation, it's kind of cut and dry. But with a fake account, someone in the shadows, who knows? Who knows who's next and when they're going to strike? So if Brandon is really that confident in his findings, then why does he need an entire community to back him up and hide behind? Why are you all fighting his battles and then complaining you are involved? If I were Brandon, I would have told you all to shut the fuck up and you're not helping my case and you're embarrassing me. But what does he do? Instead, he encourages you guys to do what it is you're doing. So if I wanted to make a case against Kush, I would want to see discipline, some self-control, instead of this hysteria and people pulling their hair out trying to figure out how to twist things. So is it a surprise that what we have on our hands is a clusterfuck of a mess? You're all wondering how the hell did we get here 6 months later? Duh. It's because you're doing everything and anything apart from the actual things that you need to be doing. Because you're busy trying to triangulate one another. Like, for example, the interruption to my stream. Do you really think fucking around with me is going to get you guys out of your jam? No. Quite a conundrum. What a tangled web that has been weaved. Where is the spider that's doing all this web forming? So can you see why then I am saying that what I see basically is all bogus? And if it isn't bogus, it's stupidity or incompetence. And because of this circus show that's taken place, even if Mr. Kush is guilty, the way you all been acting, you would be helping him get away because of how much of a, because you're acting like a bunch of divas. And like that excuse is, oh, Kush is acting like a diva or he's emotionally whatever, erratic. That's the thing. I can understand Kush being emotionally disrupted or stressed out, right? Or going to extremes, going scorched earth. His life, his reputation, his job, his career, all these different things have just been put on the line. So yes, it would be actually kind of bizarre. It would be concerning if he wasn't stressed in a way, not taking it seriously. You kind of want it both ways. You want to say to him like, "Hey, Kush, just ghost, just ignore it, take no notice of it." But then that in itself means it's okay to go around doing that to people. But it's one thing to understand why Kush might be emotionally disrupted and stressed out and whatnot, going to extremes. But why are the rest of you acting not that different? Want some evidence? People love the evidence. How is Red Pill Rhino doing? From what appears to be a psychotic break. Is he having fun? Is that what you hoped would happen to Mr. Kush? And if Kush manages to keep his composure, and I hope he does, it'll be the rest of you who will be at your breaking point. And we are seeing the cracks beginning to show. People are at their pulling their hair out. Some people have left. I, at one point, wanted to distance myself from this thing, but recently I've been pulled back in. So this, going back to this God that you want to worship and protect, your champion, turns out doesn't really seem to be all that powerful and isn't willing to save any of you, nor cares that you might be at your breaking point on the verge of insanity. And as time progresses, most likely you'll probably find yourselves being put under more pressure to fix things. Not him, not the powerful God. No, it's his servants. That's one of your jobs, to save the community from him destroying it. Clean up after his mess. So I would stop getting in each other's way, in each other's faces, and I would let Brandon himself fix his own mess. Remember, he claimed to not need any of you. And don't be surprised if he's going to blame you for all these blunders. So instead of grilling Brandon, I see people to his defense. It's like, oh, don't dare not question our leader. You can't because you are in fear. I can because I don't give a fuck. I ain't his bitch. But this not wanting to question your leader there is also not a good sign in supporting this case against Kush. In fairness, or from a objective stance, really, both sides need to be grilled. So yes, Kush would also need to be grilled. But if the supporters are not going to be fair about this, then it doesn't really help the prosecution's case because it shows favoritism. Now, the thing is, Brandon, you might not like this scrutiny, but it actually helps support your case, making it watertight. So people saying, oh, he just called out what he saw, as if that makes him innocent. Oh, he just saw something. He's just doing his duty as someone who, as a sort of like a whistleblower of sorts, or he just saw, he did what he thought was morally right. No, that doesn't make you innocent. This is not what you would call scrutinizing. This does not validate him or justify him making the accusation, and then for him to instigate an emotionally charged witch hunt to ensure what he wants happens. You do not try to warp the world to fit with your point of view. Because this is what's going on. Center of the world. God. I mean, he may as well be like an entitled little brat and say, "Daddy, I want a pony because I said so." That's the level of arguments here. People see a lot of shit. Are you telling me a pig wearing a tutu is actually real? And this is the problem Trueblood has created for himself. Not that he had a suspicion, that he stated it as fact and instigated a witch hunt. Being so eager, motivated probably by personal reasons and self-gain, that he triggered this mess. And he did say he takes full responsibility for it. So, even if people want to swoop in to defend him, he unfortunately declared himself captain. So all you people who want to bash Kush, really, you should be directing your concerns to Brandon. What you've done instead is showcase Brandon as someone who has put a hit job on a character assassination of Iridium Kush. That really doesn't look good, does it? So not only does it seem like you got Brandon who would owe Kush an apology or a retraction of sorts or something, but a whole bunch of people as well. And this is what I don't get. I don't understand why you're expecting Kush to fix things and make peace, to offer out an olive branch or something like that, when it's Brandon who's supposed to be fixing things. That doesn't make sense. You're against Kush, you hate the guy, you call him a pedophile, and somehow you expect him to make amends and say sorry, to make peace. Sorry for what? Because you're not getting an apology from Brandon. So the rest of you are trying to get an apology to rectify things by other means. And that's another sign of the desperation. You're basically you're groveling. Please, Kush, fix this because Brandon won't. I'm putting my psychological therapy hat on again for a moment here. With the codependency, there is this idea of the fear of abandonment and isolation, which will come with denial. So it's not a surprise that people purposely overlook facts, intentionally distort their memories and perception in order to create this fantasy narrative. And I ain't joking. People thought I was joking when I said mass psychosis. You need critical thinking. You need realism. Look at all these roads, as it were, like all these avenues of exploration. What is the common denominator? Where do all these roads lead back? If you're honest, they all stem and they all come from Brandon. He's there with the smoking gun. this tells me that you're so scared someone like Brandon might accuse you, which also demonstrates that you do have an understanding of the terror a sexual accusation can make. But through fear, you would rather side with a trigger-happy guy who will not hesitate to shoot you under the name of saving children than even protecting yourselves from being shot. Just as long as you're standing behind him where it's safe and hope he doesn't turn around. So can you see why you've put yourself at greater risk? Take the gun away from him. And this is why exiling Kush will not keep you safe. Is that how this works? Just as long as Brandon isn't pointing the gun at you? And the reason? Because he saw something? I don't know. Am I getting this right? I feel like I need to crack a joke in here somewhere. Now I know why you guys like to play that game of guess what's in Brandon's rear. It's safety. He can't reach you if you're back there. You got guys in these spaces talking about experimenting on kids and wanting to indoctrinate them, along with a bunch of other crazy shit, like how he can cure your medical needs, but instead you go after Kush. If you don't like someone, just say that. Don't be making shit up. Because the problem isn't them at this point, it is you. And these are just some of the extremes you're willing to go to for blind loyalty, for your tribe pleasing, and a false sense of their security. You're supposed to be men. Fucking act like it. Where are your principles? Whew. Let's take a little break so I could deal with another twat. In that stream I had interrupted, I didn't quite catch the name fully, but I saw the name Hyman. I don't know if it was Imperial Hyman or Hyman, this person called Hyman Inspector. But they wanted to accuse me of being a supporter of pedophiles. And I guess that would also mean everyone here watching are also pedo supporters, according to this Hyman. How do you feel about that, everyone? How many of you are fathers would appreciate being called a pedo supporter? So, good job there, Hyman. You've just put a target on your forehead. And if any of you know Hyman, whatever the fuck his name is, feel free to kick his head in and chuck him out with the trash where he belongs. How do you like that, Hyman? What goes around comes around, eh? You, in wanting to paint me with a tar brush for chuckles, have placed your own neck on the chopping block. Not so funny. And if you guys want someone to go after, Hyman is your guy. Don't be telling me you're against child abusers, and then you get people like Hyman, or this other fella I was talking about with his crazy ideas, give them an applause. You know, Hyman is the one disrespecting children and wanting his friends, probably, to give him a pat on the back for it. Well done, Hyman. Good bit of trolling there. Ho, ho, ho. Fucking idiot. That's so weak. There's smack talking, there's joking around, and then there's downright disrespecting. And that includes my channel and my audience. But most of all, my daughter. You have no problem in wanting to upset her and potentially put her at risk. Maybe you have a death wish. Because given what you're about, I would have no problem with your execution. And unlike you, I ain't joking. So which one of us is really the real danger? You're in here acting like a predator. My audience are not here for your bullshit. So I think someone owes my audience a big fucking apology as well. And by the way, there are people from my kids' school who are subscribed to my channel, so well done on making an ass of yourself. Really good job in representing men. Just because you want to gatekeep or control doesn't mean the world outside does not exist. So remember that when you decide to showcase your intelligence. I have a responsibility to my guests, and they have the right to not be ambushed or in fear of coming onto my panel. I've got some streams coming up in the future, and I would not be surprised if they decide to decline the invitation. I can't blame them for it. I've heard about how Kush has decided not to return to my channel, and fair play to him. I totally understand. I don't hold that against him. I apologize that what happened to him. And these are the knock-on effects. You might think, what the hell is that to do with Brandon? Well, Hyman is one of his guys. Accusing me of being a supporter because of an accusation Brandon made. You see the ripple effect? And now I'm doing things like, right, I'm going to maybe disable the chat box. Thanks to Brandon. Now, there were other members in the chat box who weren't insulting as such, but essentially participated in kind of like hijacking the thing, the stream. And I can understand, I appreciate that some of you may find it difficult and frustrating getting in contact, and you saw an opportunity. But my panel and my channel in general is not a place for airing out dirty laundry. At least I try not to have it be like that. Try to keep it on subject matter, on topics, on education. So please find another way if need be, or if you want me to relay your message, maybe we could do that. But I think those who were involved realize now, in hindsight, it's the thing. See, impulsivity, making hasty decisions, poor decisions. Please don't, because it's not just my time or my channel, but it's everyone else's time. But yeah, so thanks to Hyman, this is why we're having this stream tonight. And if Brandon wants, that's what you get for sending your boys around. Now, I'm pretty sure, given from the comment made by Hyman doesn't seem that he likes Kush, so I'm guessing he would want me to be on his side against Kush. Unless what he stands for isn't justice and is instead abuse. But making a tit of yourself on my channel isn't the way to go about it. And perhaps you do not realize that your stupid behavior actually helps to prove Kush's innocence because you've acted to conduct yourself like a buffoon. So it is not I that should be ashamed of myself, because obviously it's a stupid, absurd fucking accusation, but it is you, Hyman, who should be ashamed of yourself. And I know that this is a sock account, a chicken shit piece of crap like that would have to use a sock account. But I'm pretty sure there'll be plenty of people who know who you really are. And I can have a guess. But doesn't really matter, because of you were there because due to Brandon's doings. Now, pause for a thought here. What an interesting choice of name. You want to accuse kiddie fiddling, and there you are calling yourself Hyman. And if you're a Hyman inspector, even worse. So I imagine that is what you spend your time thinking about. And if you want to have friends like that, if this is what you're like, then your friends better be careful who they're dealing with, huh? But it seems Brandon likes Hymens. Maybe you could wear a tutu for him. So, Brandon, you better get your monkeys in check, because there you are wanting to make pedophilia a serious matter, and you've got idiots going around calling themselves Hyman on your side. Now, from what I can see so far, Kush is pretty confident where he stands. And if he is correct, as I mentioned, I think he's justified at being pissed. I mean, wouldn't you? And I'm pretty sure he'll be entitled to a compensation of magnitudes for being emotionally terrorized in such ways. In fact, as extensions, it depends what side you want to be on in a way, but I myself have a pretty good reason for being pissed, and so does everyone else who has been dragged in to this shit show. And this isn't even really about us. So someone has a great deal to answer for. A great deal. All this lashing out and compounded issues stem from this accusation. Trace it back. And I suspect there has been some serious ass kissing going on. I'm sure Hyman knows all about that. Wanting a high five from his buddies. So what this all comes down to is basically a popularity contest amongst the tribalism. And as a quick little reminder, some of these drastic measures are things like calling people at work, going scorched earth, going to other people, like I hear Miss Elite and Beth Undefeated is now being pulled in, using people's channels as a way to get in contact with the other side. There's tar brushing and character assassinations. Calling the FBI. I mean, that should have really been step number one, don't you think? So these are all collateral damage. And it's adding to the bill that needs to be paid. But guess what? Brandon isn't wanting to pay the bill. He's getting everyone else to do it. And because you guys are struggling, you're wanting Kush to fork out for it. But this is why, going back just a little bit here, this is why I can't, for the people who use who hijack my channel in order to try and contact Kush, I can't be angry. Two of those, I don't know if they were additional. That's another thing, another reason why I wasn't able to moderate, because blam, I've got at least two people wanted to say something to Kush on top of a troll, and it's like, oh my god, like trying to click and block rapidly and read what is said. I'm too slow. That's not to excuse myself, you know. That's not like justifying myself. But this is why I can't be angry with. I don't know if I should say their names. I apologize, gentlemen, but SCE and DAC for feeling the need to do what they did, because it's in much a similar way as Kush and Bullets wanting to go. I don't know about if it's Kush particularly, but with Bullets wanting to go to Miss Elite for information. Now, these aren't normal circumstances. These are becoming things out of like necessity. And I know that SCE and DAC weren't doing it to be malicious to me. So I don't take it personally, and I'm not angry with them. The way I see it is, this is thanks to Brandon pushing men to desperate lengths that they have to take extreme actions. So he doesn't care about he doesn't have the full awareness of the consequences and the damages he's causing. He's too busy trying to keep his composure and keep face. I mean, with friends like that, who needs enemies? And strategically, from Brandon's point of view, the more micro wars, the better. He's hoping you all kill each other so that he doesn't have to get his hands dirty. And then he could swoop in as the winner and crown himself as king. That's why he's not stopping any of this. He's fueling it. He wants you all to be at war, this division. You all know you are being played, if you're honest with yourselves. Ask yourselves, by whom? Who is the one fueling streams nearly every day, driving a truck, a bus, with the view of where all of this is going? Front row seat, taking you all on a journey with him. So in contrast, there is a lot more doubt surrounding Brandon. I mean, he's pretty quiet nowadays after making a mockery of a serious accusation that he said he was going to champion To him, it was great meme content. And as he stated, he promotes trolling. That's why I'm like, he's probably one of those people giving Hyman a high five on his bean to give him the ooh la las. And Brandon, you put me through a struggle session before for wanting clarification, which I don't think was unreasonable to ask. Really, tying this in with being scrutinized, you should have wanted to have assisted me in getting to the bottom of this to help your case. I've got a fucking coffee here. Let me have a little drink. I offered an easy way out, saying that there could be someone in the shadows and you could be mistaken. But this was thrown in my face. And you insulted me further by saying I'm projecting. At one point, you wanted to try and blame me for things. And then you try and say, like, I'm only 10% as smart as I think I am, or something like this. But so the excuse of being mistaken or even a victim of manipulation by someone working in the shadows is now off the table. It's gone. And so if there is indeed someone in the shadows and they have succeeded in successfully using you, Brandon, as their fall guy, and you have let them get away with it, am I supposed to help clear your name now? I mean, wouldn't that be an ironic twist? I tried to help you, Brandon. I tried. And in a similar vein, I could not just stand by and let an innocent man get ganged up on. You know what it means, apparently, to stand up for the vulnerable. So, Brandon, I can't help but notice I seem to keep picking up your tab. You wanted gatekeeping. I volunteered. I wanted out of this bollocks. I'm standing up for the innocent you claimed you want to protect. I'm doing your diligence. And now here I am clearing up your mess, giving you a way out, and attempting to put an end to this madness. I've made apologies that really you should be making. I stopped going to Gone with John, to Rebel Without Defeat, Outlaw, Sam Fisher, Hammerhand, because of you as part of your gatekeeping. If I go to some other channel, I get the Inquisition trying to force me to pick sides because of you. And catching up, from what I'm seeing, I am none too pleased nor impressed. You're not exactly winning me over. Now it looks like you're attempting to dox. This KOA signboard thing. That isn't you in the photo. Now Kush has already been doxed. So who is that supposed to be? Is that Bullets? Still trying to be underhanded? And you want people to believe you when you do stunts like this? This means something like a fake Kush account is something I wouldn't put past you. Someone's head is gonna roll, either you or Kush. So, like I said before, Brandon, which you probably took it as a threat, you better hope you're right. Because it's not for my benefit, it's for your own sake. I mean, I could almost feel sorry for you because your arrogance has created a hole so deep. You better pray people show you more mercy than they did to Kush. Because if I were them, I would be fuming at you right now. People's frustrations have been misdirected. Men with serious health implications have been put at risk. As I've mentioned, that thing with Rhino, it's on you. Even if Kush is guilty. How? Because you were supposed to deal with this yourself. How many more victims are there going to be in the name of your crusade? People aren't happy with Miss Elite being pulled in because of you. I hear she's not very well liked. So your zeal for recognition has caused you to be responsible for whatever Kush's side, his team, decide to do. If Kush decided to act like a maniac and frolic in the streets, setting fire to things like the Joker from Batman, you'd be responsible for that. If people don't like what Kush is doing, really, they should be blaming you, Brandon. He wouldn't be doing any of this if you didn't accuse him. You wanted to be at the center of this mayhem, and you got it. So it all comes down on you. Only you can put an end to this. Either you go all the way and prove it, or you have a lot to apologize for. But regardless, you still have many apologies to make. Empty words to you, so it should be easy. Because dithering around only makes it worse and harder on yourself. Trying to quietly retreat, hoping things will blow over and be forgotten about while everyone kills each other, only makes you look more guilty, covering your tracks, and cowardly. That's how it's looking. Someone who can't swallow their pride. It is clear to me by the behaviors observed that you know you fucked up and won't admit it. You know it's bullshit, don't you, Brandon? But hallelujah, it's not too late. Be a man and face the consequences. Why should everyone else have to pay for your fuck ups and do your work? I did say I would be in support of you if you can prove your case, but you are yet to do that. I feel like clipping in a Batman quote of swear to me. Besides, Brandon, anyway, knowing what people are like, I'm sure you'll get off lightly. Even though technically you would deserve the same ramifications as Kush. With interest, might I add. You know, being gatekept, lose your job, go to jail, possibly killed, placed on a registered list. You had no problem doing that to him, so it would only be fair, don't you think? If you truly believe you're right, what would you have to lose? So put your money where your mouth is. But for someone who is supposed to be morally superior than everybody else, maybe it turns out you have no honor. Now, as much as people may think I'm being an arsehole with this stream, and they want to be mad at me because I've now pulled out the rug in a way, it's going to be a bit harder for you. You're going to have to dig deeper into your denial if you don't want to listen. So I understand out of this frustrations. It's like, Billy, please say it is so. It's all right. But you've involved me along with the rest of the community who you wanted to bend over. So by extension, you've inserted your bullshit drama into my life. And you think I'm happy about this? So everyone has been affected in some way by Brandon's power grab. He has betrayed men and exploited them with emotional bribes. Some might think that is treason. So the only one who isn't a victim is you, Brandon. Reap what you sow. So let me, in closing, let me provide some further assistance. Unless there is concrete proof, as far as I'm concerned, this matter is closed. If it persists, you only have yourselves to blame, and there is no help in you. Suffer if that is what you want. I doubt Brandon will apologize or retract because he's clearly cowardly and hopes the rest of you can save him from his embarrassment and still give him his crown as champion. So I'll apologize for him, for his lust of power got the better of him, and it came at the cost of hurting all of you. And if he ever does come across an actual situation, he will no longer be believed because he is the boy who cried wolf. Now to Kush, I'm sorry. It is clear the community does not want you in it. I don't think they want me in it. But I think you probably already know that anyway. And don't care, probably. But this was never really about you or pedophilia. It was people's personal subjectivity attempting to move it into objective acceptance. It is shameful to want to remove someone because fifis are hurt, because they felt like it, because they don't like you. Right? So the accusation of pedophilia is used to make it sound more legit, an objective reason rather than a personal vendetta or gripe. So the lesson for the community in a way is that if you don't want someone, it's okay to simply boot them out, provided the rest of the community agree. You don't have to make exaggerated accusations. But because it's a community, it's difficult to have everyone in agreement. This is why the selfish ones want to make it an objective issue and get everyone else on the same page, same side. So the tribe mentality. And through all of this, let me apologize to the children that people felt it was necessary to use you for their personal reasons and to put you at greater risk, because now pedophilia is a slur that you can say to people simply because you don't like them and to get the lynch mob onto them. We as men have failed you. We have failed one another. Now, on a more optimistic note, hopefully once everyone can stop dicking around, no pun intended, we can move into a more meaningful direction or conversation. All this bullshit for what? So I hope lessons are learnt here. If you want further information to understand how you've been manipulated, you can look into the relationship dynamic of codependents and narcissists. That's a very good model for you to get your to grasp or get your hands get your head around. In likelihood, your emotions will still want to hate on Kush, but in terms of this matter, you must think critically. Do the right thing. You can then be happy in knowing that you helped let an innocent man be free. By saving Kush, you save yourselves. Thank you for your time.